Hello and welcome to another episode of the Playlist Podcast with me, Gemma Roots. Unfortunately, Jack couldn't be here today due to work commitments, but I'm joined today by a special guest. Please welcome American musician Lánre.
Hey, Gemma, how you doing?
I'm
Thanks for having
fine,
me.
you?
Really good, really good.
Um, so just to give our listeners a bit of an introduction, could you briefly
Mhm.
introduce yourself, what you do?
Yeah, so my name's Lánre. I'm a singer-songwriter from Atlanta, Georgia, in the States, and I've been singing like pretty much my whole life since I was like 8, 7 years old. And just like in 2020, I started releasing my own songs, so like releasing to like Spotify and things like that, and I've just been going full steam ahead ever since. So
So
kind of like
you
the
kind
short
of got
version of
into
it.
the mix of it then when COVID started picking up. So
Yeah, it's funny because like I started right before like maybe like January 2020, and
yeah,
I was like, oh, I like connecting with producers and things like that. And then of course like lockdown happens in March, and I remember like planning to release a song like I think in April, and of course everything just went out the window, and I didn't end up releasing the song till June 2020. But I always tell people like it was like the coolest time to release music during that year in a weird way, because it's like everybody was at home, everybody had to like really innovate. So it like forced me, like that was my first like foray into professional music. So it forced me to like think differently and like start watching podcasts and learning like how to do things digitally. It was a whole thing, but it was really I'm really grateful for it.
yeah. A lot of the musicians that we've had on it started around the same time
Mm-hmm.
as you in 2020.
Uh-huh.
So I think it kind of being in lockdowns um kind of helped people to get in that mindset of like I want to start doing
Mm-hmm.
this and be
Yeah.
creative.
Yeah, I think it kind of like lit a fire under a lot of people, and we got so much like great music because of it. So I'm really, in a weird way, I'm grateful that all this happened.
Great.
Yeah.
Um, so musically, who are
Hmm.
your inspirations?
Yeah, I would say like my Mount Rushmore of like artists I look up to would have to be Michael Jackson, Beyonce, Usher, Justin Timberlake, and Chris Brown. So
Mm,
that's like five. And like for me, it's just like as far as like their passion, their talent level, like the way they present themselves, like everything, like that's what I looked up to growing up.
mm.
And I always saw myself like with a piece of all of them, like part of them like always inspired me. So that was definitely like my top five artists that I want to emulate and do my own version of.
Yeah. When I was listening to your music the other day, I
Mm-hmm.
kind of got that kind of similarity between Chris Brown and
Oh, nice.
also and your music sounds very similar to Craig David over in the UK.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like I've heard of him.
Yeah, he's quite big over here, and your
Mm.
both of your sounds are quite similar.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
yeah, it's really great.
Yeah. Yeah, Chris
So
Brown is a huge influence on like
yeah,
my music, and just the way he diversified and kind of like opened doors for, African American like male singers,
mm,
and like he just crosses genre so seamlessly, and it's like that's what I look up to, and that's what I try to do in my music too.
brilliant.
Yeah, thanks.
So how often do you write your songs?
So I write all of my music. It's either me writing the whole thing or like co-writing. But
Mm,
to some level, I'm definitely like writing, and it's either so sometimes like I write. So for my debut EP, In My Dreams, I wrote the entire project like pretty much like it's called In My Dreams because I wrote it while I was asleep. So like I'd be dreaming about a song, and then it'll come to me. I'll record it on voice memo, send it off to a producer, have them produce it, and we kind of like build it from there.
mm,
So that was that project. I do still do that, but more so now I've been like actually writing from scratch with producers. So I'd go into studio, have a writing session, figure out which song works best and then like develop it from there. So it's kind of a mix of both. And I also bring in like co-writers. My song Beautiful Eyes, which is like my biggest song right now, I wrote with the featured artist Zaya. Like we were just in the studio and we just like were bouncing ideas off each other, and that kind of came about. So it's kind of, it's kind of a mix, but I always make sure like I have a part to play in each of the songs that I sing. Yeah. That's really important to me.
So in your Instagram bio, you've got that you write music about love and blurry weekends.
Yeah.
Are there any other topics that you'd like to write about in the future?
Yeah, so that kind of came about as a joke, really, like because I think that's what people always think I do, like especially like my friends. It's like, yeah, you just write songs about like love and getting like drunk and stuff. So that's why that came about. But I do love writing about that stuff, but there's so much more topics that I have written about that I just haven't released. Like, we were talking about 2020 and how much of a, kind of traumatic year that was for everybody. And I was writing a song about like the little moments that you share with people, and how important those things are, like how important time is. And that's kind of a song that has nothing to do with love or going out or anything. And those types of music is like what I like inspires me, honestly. And that moves the needle as far as like people having honest and real conversations with each other. Those are the kind of songs that I want to start making more. There's a couple of songs that I have written that are coming out this year that, are about love, but they're more about like my relationship with certain people and how I see love through them. So it's kind of just like taking the concepts like of a love song, but putting it in a new perspective is kind of my goal for this year. Yeah.
So, you released your latest single, LA, back late last year.
Yeah.
Could you tell our listeners a bit about the backstory behind it, what the song's about, and how it came around?
Yeah. So LA is a perfect example of a song that, upon first listen, you think it's a love song about someone missing someone else. But really, LA came about because as I'm progressing in my career, I was like, man, one day I'm going to move out to LA and have to leave, my home in Atlanta, whether that be like temporarily or permanently. And this song, I just started getting this idea of like, Cali dreaming to me was the, and I kept like having those kind of like themes of someone that I leave in Atlanta, whether that be like a loved one or a friend or something like that, who sees me living out my dream in Atlanta and not wanting to be forgotten about. So that's kind of where the basis of LA came from. And it's kind of in a way like me now speaking to future Lánre and saying like, hey, don't forget where you come from. And you can have all these big dreams and aspirations, and like everybody's here to support you, but always remember like where you started, and don't get caught up in the world of LA. So that's why the hook goes, LA ain't the world, because it's really not. Your world is so much bigger than, just living out your dream. There's more to life than that. So.
I love the artwork for LA.
Thank you.
Was that your own doodling?
No, so I work with this really great artist called Pixie Chris, and he's so dope. He did my EP cover for In My Dreams, and he's doing this next one for my next single that comes out next month. And so I came up with the idea. I was like, I wrote the song, like if I show you like a picture of like the first outline of the song, I'm just like writing shapes and like just random stuff, like random words and things like that. I was like, this looks like a journal, And so I was like, I want to carry this kind of like me writing to myself theme over into the cover art. So I just kind of threw some ideas at him, and he came up with the draft of the different like artwork and like different like doodles and things like that. So it was definitely a collaborative thing.
Yeah, I love the artwork.
Thank you.
Our listeners have probably heard of you before on UK radio.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
music was featured on BBC Introducing in Nottingham,
Yes.
I believe.
Yes, Nottingham, and there was another city that I can't remember that had it in rotation. But yeah, that was like a life-changing moment for me. That was one of those things where it's like you always envision yourself on the radio as
Mm.
a aspiring artist, but it's like when you actually hear yourself on the radio, like I remember I was on the way to a friend's wedding when it was being spun, and my mom calls me because I told my whole family about it. She calls me like crying. She's like, "Oh my gosh, I just heard you on the radio," and like all this stuff. And then I'm in a gas station like with tears in my eyes. I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" Like I'm on there like just to hear. And I forgot the DJ's name, but just to hear him like say "Somebody New" by Tom Marlowe and Lanre, it was such a great experience. And it was one of those things where it's like I can't wait to experience that again. And also I can't wait to be in the UK with all my new fans. You know, like that's been ever since that happened, I was like, I need to get out there
Yeah.
and meet you guys.
Yeah, London is the place to go for music. Also Brighton.
Yes.
We're myself and Jack, we're based in towns just outside of Brighton. So
Okay.
and Brighton is like the music city of the UK.
Oh, nice. I like the
And
name Bright.
yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
really nice there. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
venues that you could go and perform at, also in London as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
But
I have a bunch of family in London. So I've been like a couple times.
yeah,
So it's like I'm pretty familiar, but there's so many like I've never even heard of Brighton. I would love to just like go out there and explore it.
yeah. For
Yeah.
a lot of musicians in the UK, being having your music on BBC Introducing is such a big thing in this country, and
Yeah.
for you to get that slot is such a big
Mm-hmm.
achievement.
Yeah, I'm very, very proud of it. My collaborator, Tom Marlowe, I forgot which part of the UK he's from, but he arranged all of that. And I was just so grateful to him because I was like, man, you made like my childhood dream come true and you didn't even know. And I mean, him himself, that was his first time being featured. So he was very excited about it as well. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Have you got any plans to perform live soon?
Yes, so I've been sort of dipping my toes into it at the latter part of last year and kind of into this year. I have a couple shows coming up in February and March, and I'm working with a really great team, a booking team right now that's going to be booking shows in the Atlanta area, LA, Denver, kind of just throughout the states. Starting in April. Nothing that I can officially announce yet, but I will say there's going to be a lot of shows going into summer and beyond. So I'm really excited. I actually just got off the phone with my booking manager, and like I'm just really excited to announce it.
It must be so good to be able to go out and perform now that
Yeah.
everything's kind of getting back to normal-ish.
Yeah, and I think it kind of worked, like the timing worked out of it well because I started in 2020, like started releasing professionally, and I made sure like I got a good rhythm about like when to record and when to release. And now that I'm in the state where I'm like, you know, I've had a lot of exposure and got a lot of new fans. So now I'm in the place where I can be like, okay, now I can actually take this on the road. And it just so happened to line up with when things are opening up a bit more. I know Omicron is still, you know,
Yeah.
raging through the States and the UK, but you know, things are looking more optimistic for March and later dates. So it's like it's just the timing of it worked out perfectly. So
Yeah. Have you
yeah.
performed? No, you said you performed live late last year.
Mm-hmm.
Where has been your favorite venue to perform so far?
Like ever, like in my whole life,
Yeah.
or just like okay, yeah. So I was actually in all boys choir when I was younger. It was called Nor Boys Chorus, and we toured like all over the northeast of the United States, and then like in different countries, like in Europe and stuff. So I've gotten to like I've been blessed to perform in like some really big and like prominent venues. So have you heard of Carnegie Hall in
No.
New York? Yeah, so Carnegie Hall is like this historic like performing arts center. I mean, it's more than a performing arts center. It's like this historic like building, and like pretty much all the greats that performed there. It's like this very high prestige place. I performed there when I was like in 7th grade or so. So I think I was like 8 or 9. And I remember, I say because it's Carnegie Hall, so obviously I loved performing there. But we were told that it was this really important, you know, place to perform, like right before we go on. And so I remember I was going up, I was in the front row, and I had to put something down before I actually like stood on like the little stands that we were on, and I tripped over my hand.
Oh no.
And this is like, yeah, this is in front of like thousands of people. And like, I just remember, like, I think I blacked everything out during the performance, because the next thing I know, the performance is over. We're headed backstage, and I just start bawling. I'm like, I can't believe all these people just saw me fall. And like, and then of course, like my friends and stuff were making fun of me. It was bad, but at the same time, it taught me a lesson that the show always must go on.
Yeah.
You know, and it taught me how much I love performing, because I didn't even like feel the effects of it until after I was done. And so that's kind of a little story plus my favorite performance venue.
Is there a particular venue that you would like to perform at in the future?
Yes. There's two, but one is definitely Madison Square Garden, and that's in New York. I'm sure you've heard of it. That's just like, since I knew what performing was, that's where I always like saw myself performing in like a sold out show, like sold out arena. And then another one, as far as like the venue itself, is Red Rocks in Colorado. And that is a really cool venue. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's basically like nestled in a mountain almost. And it's like all the seating is made of rocks, like the stage, it's like, it feels really intimate, but it's also like this huge like venue, like outdoor venue. It's really cool. Like, I would love to just do a performance out there. Like, so those kind of both ends of the spectrum.
It does sound like a really cool venue to perform at.
Yeah, look it up after this. It's so like, and the acoustics I heard are like fantastic. So you don't even need like crazy like audio work. Like, you can just sing, and people like rows above will be able to hear you. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, not many people would say that they've been to a gig at the bottom of a mountain.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And that's like, you know, and they do like EDM shows there. They do like R&B concerts. Like, you can do any kind of thing. It's like the venue is pretty much the performance over there.
Why? Obviously, Jack's not here today. He has sent this question that he wanted me to ask you.
Okay.
What's been your personal highlight so far in your music career?
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna cheat and give you two, because I can't pick between these. So it was performing at the latter half of last year. So I had two kind of big performances. One was in September of 2021, and then one was in December. The one in September was in Colorado, and I got to perform with the DJ that I've done a song with, and it was just this great performance, and it kind of got me back into performing. And it was just like such a great crowd, such a good time. The other was here in Atlanta in December of 2021, and it was so special to me because pretty much everybody from every walk of my life came to that show, because it was my first time headlining a show. Well, I wasn't headlining, but I was closing a show in my city, you know, and it was the first time a lot of people seeing me perform. So it was like a full circle moment for me. So that was kind of just like two moments that were just like right here that set the bar for 2022. And then apart from that, also seeing how my songs are touching people around the world, especially my song Beautiful Lies. It's doing super well in like the Southern American like countries and stuff like that. And I get like DMs and comments on YouTube just from people saying how much they love the song. They want to hear more. And then, you know, they're starting to really gravitate to my other songs, somebody new, and just like interacting with people that I would have never met in a million years, but now I have like such a close bond with them. I think that's like, it transcends music to me. That's just like a beautiful, like human connection moment that I have because I'm a musician in this modern digital age that I can connect with people all over the world. And that's just like, that means everything to me. So.
Going on to what you've just said there, what does music mean to you personally?
Yeah, music, and I always get emotional talking about this, so I'm gonna try to say it as like cleanly as I can. Music has been like my friend, and I grew up kind of not the most popular kid. I kind of didn't. I did have friends, but I was kind of closed off to a lot of people as a kid, and music was like my friend. Like I was telling you before, like Michael Jackson, Beyonce, Usher, Chris Brown, Justin Timberlake. Like I had their CDs like every day after school, just like listening to it, and I just remember like just feeling like I wasn't alone, you know, and music does that like for me, even to this day. Like I have to have music when I'm at the gym, when I'm working, things like that, because like it just makes me feel whole and it makes life, it's kind of like how I see the world and how I interpret like human interaction, how I learned how to talk to people and engage with all through music. And for me as an artist now, like I take care of my songs so much because I want others to get that same experience that I got listening to my favorite artist. So that's what music means to me, and it means everything. So,
Yeah.
essentially, yeah.
Yeah, same here. I don't think I can go out without listening to music at all in a day. If
Yeah, it doesn't
It's
make
one of
sense.
those things that
Mm-hmm.
if I'm doing something by myself, I have to be listening to music.
Yeah, yeah. Because you need like, you know, I feel like music is the sound of the soul. That's
Yeah.
why like in every culture, everywhere has music. Like they have their own music, and that's how they story tell and things like that. So I think it's such an inherent part of being human. Like music is very important.
Mm.
Yeah.
One final question that we
Yeah.
have asked all of the musicians that we've had on over
Hmm.
the past year or so. What advice
Okay.
would you give to a musician just starting out in their career?
Yeah. The best advice that I got so far in my career has been to enjoy where you are, right? So like if you're just starting out in what is this, January 2022, enjoy the process of like discovering who you are as an artist. Enjoy the process of meeting producers, networking, learning about what it's like to release music. Because I think when I was first starting, and I'm still, you know, learning so much even to today, but there was such a thing in my head of like, oh, I need to get, you know, these many streams. I need to have these many followers. Like all these things that honestly really don't mean anything unless your art isn't like good, and unless you're not good as a person. And I think, you know, I would tell someone, don't get so caught up in where you're gonna be. You're gonna get there if you're meant to get there, period. Just like enjoy the moment right now of learning. It's like there's so much fun stuff to do as an up and coming artist. And that's one thing like I'm constantly telling myself now. It's like just enjoy doing things like this, like connecting with you on your podcast and like talking to
Yeah.
your listeners and just things like that. Like these are exciting things that yes, you know, one day I'm gonna have a ton of Grammys, but I'm gonna be looking back on this time that I was just like getting started and like cherish these moments. And you don't want this, I'll just say for myself, I don't want this time to go by and be like, well, I was so focused on the end result that I didn't even enjoy the journey, because then what's it all for if you don't
Yeah.
enjoy it? So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I kind of agree with your advice. Like, um, myself and Jack, we've been doing this 3 years, and
Mm-hmm.
to start off with, we were just so focused on getting the streams, getting the downloads, and
Mm-hmm.
we just didn't see like the other side of it. So now we just do it because we enjoy doing it. We don't
Yep.
matter about followers or streams. We just do it because we want to help musicians like yourself out. We want to make it like a safe haven for you to come on and show yourselves.
Yeah, and I can totally tell that just by like our conversation. And I don't know about you, but like for me, like having that perspective makes my art so much better, because I'm not worried about, oh, will people like this, or would it get, would it get placements on playlists or anything. I'm just making it because like this is what I love doing. And I think that comes through. Like I was telling you about like how I listen to music, and why those artists are like my role models and icons, is because like that's their mentality. Like they came before the whole age of streaming and sales and all that. They just did it. They started doing it because they were good and they loved doing it. And I think for you guys, what you're doing is awesome. Like just giving artists, like independent artists, a platform just to like sit here and talk. Like that's great. And I love that you love doing it.
Thank you. It's so nice to hear that.
Yeah.
So just quickly for our listeners, where can we catch you? Are you on all of the streaming services?
Yeah, so I'm at Lanre, Lanre, on all major streaming services. It's A with the accent, but you should just be able to search Lanre and I'd come up. And then also I'm on Instagram at lanre.official. And then TikTok, just Lanre official. And then you should be able to find, I have a link in bio on my Instagram that's linked to literally everywhere. So you should be able to find me on those channels as well.
And congratulations on your year last year. It seemed very successful for you.
Yes, thank you so much. And honestly, I'm so excited about 2022. I have a new single coming out next month on February 18th, and I'm really excited about. So we're just getting ready for that, and more shows, get to meet new people. So very excited.
Yeah, good luck on your new single and for the rest of 2022.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for having me. This is a great convo.
That's okay. So you can catch Lánre on all of the streaming platforms that we've mentioned. And thank you for listening. Myself and Jack will catch you on our next episode. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.